Hello everyone and welcome back to special video episode. This is episode 5 and the conclusion of my videos of the live action Spider-Man movies. Today we will be talking about the Tom Holland films. I was amazed when Marvel and Sony made the announcement that Spider-Man will finally be featured in the MCU. Several actors was up for the role, but one actor stood out and that was no other than Tom Holland. I admit that I didn't know anything about Tom Holland at that point, so I couldn't wait to see how he pulls it off. He was cast for the role in 2015. He first appeared as Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War that came out in 2016. His own adventure came out with Spider-Man Homecoming that was released on July 7, 2017 with a budget of $175 million and a box office return of $880 million. The next time you see the character was in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. He then returned for his solo sequel, Spider-Man Far From Home, that was released on July 2, 2019 with a budget of $160 million and a box office of $1.131 billion. This is the highest grossing Spider-Man film of all time. The cast including with Tom Holland are Zendaya, Jacob Balantar, Kobe Smulders, Jon Favreau, Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, Marissa Tomei, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Robert Downey Jr. With Spider-Man No Way Home coming out, I thought I would talk about Peter's story within the MCU as a whole, so let's talk about it. In Iron Man 2, a young Peter Parker was wearing an Iron Man mask standing up to an AIM drone, but is saved by Tony Stark. Several years later, Tony recruits Peter for his team to bring in Captain America for violating the Sokovia Accords. This brings us into Spider-Man Homecoming. The movie begins with a flashback from the battle of the first Avengers movie. Adrian Toomes gets cheated out of a salvage job at the Department of Damage Control funded by Tony Stark. Adrian is to hand over any alien technology that he had salvaged so far, but decided to keep the tech to create and sell weapons. After the fight in Germany, Tony tells Peter that he can keep the suit as long as he laid low and he's report to Happy. 2 months later, Peter texts Happy with no reply back as he goes on daily patrols, stopping petty crimes until he's encountered thieves with alien weaponry, causing a lot of damage. That night, Peter's friend, Ned Leeds, stumbled upon Peter's identity as Spider-Man. The next day at school, Peter and Ned overheard Liz Allen, Peter's love interest of the movie, that she would date Spider-Man. Ned, being a perfect wingman, tells everyone that Peter knows Spider-Man and was invited to Liz's party. At the party, as Peter was getting ready to appear as Spider-Man, he's sidetracked by an illegal weapons deal going down by Adrian's associates, Jackson Bryce and Herman Schultz. As he attempts to stop them, he is caught off guard by Adrian in a wing costume and takes Peter up into the air. His parachute from his suit helped him get away and he crashed into the lake but is saved by a remote control Iron Man. Tony tells Peter to stay out of it because there are people that handle this sort of thing. Peter finds a piece of the weaponry that Adrian's associate had left behind. Peter and Ned study the weapon but was tracked down by Herman Schultz. Peter managed to get a tracker on him and managed to follow them to Maryland. Peter catches up to Adrian and he stops him from taking more alien weapons. However, he gets trapped at the damage control warehouse. Peter managed to get out and figures out that the alien core had exploded at the Washington Monument and he saves his friends. Peter gets detention but he leaves. He figures out that a weapons deal is going down at the Staten Island ferry. He stops the deal, but he causes more damage to the ferry. As he tried to handle the situation, it is saved by Tony, but this time it was actually him in the suit. Tony gets into Peter on how he wanted him to be better, and he takes the suit back from Peter. Peter tried to resume his life and he takes Liz to the dance, but as he was picking her up, he finds out that Adrian is Liz's dad. In the car ride to the dance, Liz inadvertently helped Adrian figure out that Peter is Spider-Man. Adrian is giving Peter one chance to stay out of it because of what Peter did for Liz at Washington, but Peter doesn't listen and heads out and attacked by Herman. But with the help of Ned, Peter defeats Herman. Peter catches up with Adrian, but he got the drop on Peter and was buried in concrete, but he manages to summon the strength to get free and goes after Adrian. Peter fights Adrian and defeats him, saving Tony's shipment to a new facility. The following day, Peter went to apologize to Liz, but she was moving away due to Adrian being outed as a criminal. Happy takes Peter to the new Avengers compound to where Tony wanted him to become a full Avenger and was presented with a new Iron Spider suit. However, Peter declined and just wanted to continue to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The film ends with Tony giving Peter back his suit, and as he puts it on, he is caught by Aunt May. In the mid-credit scene, Adrian is confronted by one of his buyers from the ferry, Matt Gargan. He heard rumors that Adrian might know who Spider-Man is, but Adrian denies it. Peter appears in Avengers Infinity War. While heading on a field trip, he noticed that alien invasion was happening and quickly assisted Tony in fighting the Black Order, aka the Children of Thanos. As he attempts to rescue Doctor Strange, he was about to run out of air until he dons the Iron Spider suit that Tony tried to give him back in Homecoming. Tony sends Peter back home, but Peter stole it away anyway. He comes up with a plan to defeat Enemy Law, and it worked. Himself, Tony, and Dr. Strange crashes on Titan and they meet the Guardians of the Galaxy. They come up with a plan to pin down Thanos and take the gauntlet, but Star-Lord messes it up. Thanos managed to get all the stones and proceeded with his plan on eliminating half of all life in the universe. Sadly, Peter was one of those unfortunate ones. In Avengers Endgame, before killing Thanos, he destroyed the stones, so there was no way of getting everyone back. 5 years later, the Avengers figured out how to time travel using the quantum realm. They succeeded on getting all the stones, bringing everyone back, including Peter. The Avengers win, but at a great cost. Black Widow and Tony gave their lives so they could win against Thanos, leading up to Spider-Man Far From Home. In Mexico, while Nick Fury and Maria Hill investigate the disturbance, they encounter a man by the name of Quentin Beck while he combats an elemental. 8 months after the Avengers Endgame, the people of Earth dubbed the decimation the blip. The people who were blipped away 5 years ago came back the same age, but the ones that were left behind aged 5 years. We catch up with Peter as he goes over his plan with Ned to tell MJ how he feels. Ned just wants to be bachelors while they are in Europe for their science trip. At a charity event, Happy tells Peter that Nick Fury wants to talk to him, but he doesn't want to and repeatedly sends Nick Fury to voicemail. While on the plane, Peter wants to sit with MJ, but it fails because Ned is not a good wingman. When they landed in Vince, Italy, Ned ended up with a girlfriend by the name of Betty Brant. Peter buys the necklace to give to MJ, still going through with his plan. As Peter and his class are enjoying their trip, it is interrupted by a water elemental. As Peter dons a mask, he does his best to get the people safe, but Quentin arrives and he stops the elemental with the help of Peter. Later, as Peter and Ned were talking at the hotel, Nick Fury shoots Ned with a tranquilizer. Nick takes Peter to their hideout and he meets Quentin. Quentin tells Peter that he's from another Earth, stating that the multiverse exists and the elementals destroyed his Earth. Nick says that the next one will strike in Prague and he wants Peter's help. However, Peter doesn't want to risk Spider-Man being seen in Europe and everyone know his secret. With that information, Nick gets one of his agents to design Peter a new suit. He was caught though by Brad, another guy that also liked MJ, and was going to show her a picture of Peter with his pants down. During a bus ride, Peter opens his gift that Tony left him, and it was an augmented sunglasses that obtained an AI named Edith. Peter wants Edith to get rid of the picture that Brad took of him, but Edith tried to use a drone strike to kill Brad, but Peter managed to destroy it and had Edith get rid of the picture. That night, Nick managed to keep Peter's class out of harm's way by sending them to the opera. When Peter left, MJ, Ned, and Betty followed. The metal elemental shows up and causes a lot of damage, but Quentin managed to destroy it. Nick wants to recruit Quentin, but berates Peter that Tony made the wrong choice on making him an Avenger. At a bar, Peter tells Quentin that he feels that he may not be ready to take on responsibility, and he relinquished control of Edith to Quentin. As Peter leaves, it is revealed that Quentin lied about everything. He was a Stark Industries employee that was fired along with the other disgruntled employees. As the school trip is cut short, Peter wants to tell MJ how he feels, but she figures out that he's Spider-Man. Peter feels that the reason why MJ was the only watching him the whole time because he was Spider-Man. MJ pulls out a device with webbing on it to prove that he's Spider-Man, but the device activates and it shows the holograms of Quentin and the elemental fighting. Peter figures out that Quentin is a fraud and heads to Berlin to warn Nick, but as he got there, it was all holograms and Quentin attacks Peter and had him hit via train, presumably killing Peter. Still alive, Peter wakes up in jail and breaks out. Peter calls Happy and Peter goes down a downward spiral, feeling that he messed up, but Happy reassures him that Tony made the right choice on picking him to be an Avenger. Peter builds him a new suit while he's on his way back to London to save his friends from Quentin. Quentin releases the drones and goes after his loose ends. He makes a hologram with the combination of all elementals. Peter shows up as he breaks the hologram. Happy is in charge of helping Peter's friends get away as Peter buys time. Peter confronts Quentin, and this time he uses his spider sense. I am not calling it the Peter tingle, I refuse to. Anyway, Peter uses his spider sense to beat Quentin and takes control of Edith to destroy all the drones. MJ finds Peter and she shows the necklace that Peter was going to give to her, and they both share a kiss to consummate their relationship. Later, Peter confronts Aunt May and Happy to see if they are dating, but it's inconclusive. The movie ends with Peter going on his first date with MJ. However, in the mid-credit scene, in his last act of deception, Quentin tricks the world that Spider-Man killed him, and he also reveals his identity to the world. In the post-credit scene, it is revealed that Nick and Maria was really Skrulls, the shape-shifting aliens that appeared in Captain Marvel, as the real Nick Fury is somewhere deep in space. You know, it's funny how the MCU existed a long time before they included Spider-Man, due to the character being owned by Sony. Well, the movie rights, that is. However, they still managed to fit him in once the deal between Marvel and Sony came out. They even managed to shoot him in Captain America Civil War while the movie was still being filmed. I really think they had that plan from the beginning. after the box office and critic flop of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love both films equally, seeing Spider-Man in a world with already established history and heroes and alien threats. There are Avengers that he hasn't met yet, like Thor and the Hulk. This Peter Parker had similarities to his predecessors, being a nerd at high school, losing his uncle, and just wants to do the right thing no matter what. But at first, he'd rather be an Avenger than a high school student with financial problems. Peter doesn't feel bullied by Flash Thompson in these films, more like, my God, dude, shut the hell up, god damn. I'm sorry to think you secretly in love with me kind of attitude. Peter, between Civil War and Homecoming, he was a little too enthusiastic and wanted to do more, but Tony felt that he wasn't ready yet. Being a teenager comes with teenage rebellion. If adult with authority tells you not to do something over and over again, eventually that teenager's going to do it anyway. That got him into trouble a lot and was almost expelled for sneaking off during a class field trip. He then decided to stop a weapons deal, not knowing that Tony already called the FBI, saying that that kind of thing is not on the Avengers' radar, so it shouldn't be in Peter's either. But it got into trouble and had his suit taken away. When Peter told Tony that he was nothing without the suit, what I think he meant by that was not because of the gadget that came with it, but it was the look of the suit. I feel that he could have been respected more rather than swinging around in pajamas. However, he did learn it's not the suit that makes the man, it's the man that makes the suit. I can't believe I just said that corny ass shit, but it's true. Once he beat Adrian on his own and got the recognition from Happy and Tony, when he had the chance to be a real Avenger, Peter didn't take it because he knows that he's not ready yet and wants to continue to practice his skills and protect the neighborhood. Infinity War, he had no choice going into the space, much to Tony's detest. He was a value asset on Titan and he almost got the gauntlet off, but you know how that went, and was one of the ones that was blipped away. When he was blipped back 5 years later, he managed to hold his own and meet a lot of other heroes. However, he lost Tony when he used the stones to snap away Thanos and his army. This pretty much haunts Peter because he really looked up to Tony like a father he never had. When he came back to the post-blip world and went on his trip, he completely changed and didn't want to handle no Avengers level threat. He just wanted to go on his class trip and get with MJ. When he was recruited by Nick, Peter did his job in helping out fighting the elementals, but Nick didn't think he was ready, even though Nick was really a Skrull in disguise. So what does he know? However, it did get to Peter and gave Edith to Quentin. I felt like from Far From Home, he really wasn't Spider-Man until he realized that he messed up and took responsibilities for his actions and went to save London from Quentin. For me, that's when he became Spider-Man. The villains are another people that Tony messed over badly. Adrian was just a guy to provide work so they could support their families and his own. He spent money he did not have to clean up the Battle of New York, but the damage control funded by Tony took it from him. Tony didn't even bother to reimburse him, at least give him back on his feet, or at least work with him. He did fly up under the radar for a long time due to several events happening like Fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ultron's attack, and the Accords. But I could be reaching on how he could have been doing it for several years. When he found out Peter's secret, he did give him a chance to walk away. But you know what happened. Even though he knows his secret, he refused to tell anyone. Maybe he wanted to protect Peter due to him just being a kid that was just trying to do the right thing. But he also could be trying to save him for himself for when or if he gets out of prison. I wonder if he was blipped or not. It's rumored that he will return in Spider-Man No Way Home, though there's no real proof out there, so we will just have to wait and see. Quentin was another one of Tony's ex-employees. He had a whole team of other employees that were screwed over by Tony. Quentin was the one that created VARF technology back in Civil War, and he was pissed that Tony named it that. He was fired due to Tony calling him unstable. He wanted to be the next Iron Man, and with Edith he would have succeeded. I wonder what would happen if he did win and managed to fool everyone, and an Avengers level threat actually happens. What would he have done then? I know he got the last laugh when he revealed Peter's secret identity to the world to complicate Peter's life even more. I also heard rumors that he would return to No Way Home, but I doubt it. Right after the release of Far From Home, for a couple of weeks, Marvel and Sony ended their relationship until they reached a new deal having Spider-Man to continue his adventures in the MCU. With the release of No Way Home in a couple of days, Marvel announced that Spider-Man will get a new trilogy and a prequel animated series for Disney Plus coming soon. He also might appear in other Marvel films as well. I really can't honestly wait to see what Marvel has in store for our favorite wall crawler going forward. I hope you guys enjoy these videos as I enjoyed making them. Maybe I'll combine all three to be a full feature-length film or something. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I'll be taking a break for Christmas, and also I'm Spider-Man out. You don't know how much Spider-Man content I've been watching besides the movies. Hell, I even played the Spider-Man PS4 game over again, but I digress. But I will return January 2022 with new material and a new series called Burst Limit Retrospect, to where I review finished TV shows. I want to go full in depth and want to give my side commentary. I'm almost done writing the first episode, so be on the lookout for that. But that's all for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will see you all next year.